What's up, guys? It's Drac, and I can't believe we're making more content before we leave for End War. So we're filming this one right before we hit the road to go all the way to Rochester to put on an amazing event for you guys. But before we do that, we get to take a look at the Dart Zone Max Tomcat. Now, I know that this one's already been spoiled over by the people at Foam Fest, and I would be jealous, except the people over at Foam Fest are such amazing people. They're donating one away in their charity drive. I'm absolutely in love with the work that Mel and Al are doing, and I'm excited to see them at Foam Fest in the UK. But right now, we're full steam towards End War, and the Max Tomcat is gonna be there at the Dart Zone booth at FoamCon. You get the chance to check it out in person, but for those of you that can't make it, I wanna talk about it. So let's do a complete review of the Dart Zone Max. This is the Tomcat. It's kind of like a Tommy gun sort of thing going on. Comes with 50 half-length darts, 2 sights, 1 super drum, kind of a throwback to the old Magnum super drum, I feel. And then it's got a stock. Now over here, of course, we've got blaster itself, eyewear, stock, sights, etc. So let's go ahead, let's stop lollygagging, let's pop this open and take a look inside. Inside we've got the instructions, as well as the QR code about the darts, and we've got the product itself. Now the product itself looks like it fits pretty compactly in here. Let's go ahead and take it out. Knock it out of this package. All right, so I was the first one to admit that when I saw this, I was like, this isn't gonna hold 50 darts, but lo, just like the new Busby blaster of all things, it probably will. So this guy holds, it's using the same retention that the Deuce Pro does in the bottom, hopefully without the dart drop issue, but it looks like each one of these cylinders holds 2 darts. So you put the first dart in and then you let it kind of fall through, and then you put the second dart in and you wind up with 2 in each one of the 25 chambers. And that's pretty intense, all things considered. I mean, it's one thing to take a half-length drum and use it to make the drum that much smaller. It's another thing entirely to take a half-length drum and then double the capacity of it, getting you back to full-length drum weight, size, you know, volumetrically, except with twice the shots. That's kind of always been the advantage of the half-length dart system. It's just very rare to see it taken advantage of in such a direct fashion like this. I am a big fan. So I did something unheard of, which is I actually read the instructions. It turns out to fit the outer ring of darts, you're gonna go ahead and load them from the outside, which means that you could top this blaster off one of 2 ways. You could either use the rear loading slots in the blaster itself, or you could top off the drum from the outer ring exactly like this with the half-length darts of your choice. The retention is actually really good because these tabs hold the darts in place and there's nowhere for them to escape through the grates in the front of the blaster. So as opposed to, you know, perhaps the Deuce Pro where there might have been issues with the darts falling out of the holster in that one kind of loading slot, the retention in this is significantly better. And the sort of rubberized nature of these darts lets you snap through these apertures on the side pretty comfortably. I think if there is a downside to the product, it's that it has so much onboard capacity that you'd almost want to consider bringing 2 drums for 100 rounds of shots, just because takes a long time to load the drum completely. Again, you could top off over the course of battle, but to load all 50 darts into one drum took me a while, and I'm an expert dart loader. So let's pop this out. Let's get it installed. It looks like it only goes in one way. The circle, oh, of course, it has to be primed because very similar to a lot of the mechanisms that we've been using in at least the Dart Zone kind of lines of late. The plunger and the pusher are all one piece. They're kind of networked together to eliminate dead space. We can go ahead and throw the stock on. Why not throw these handsome sights on? Let's put this one in the back, this one in the front. These are actually pretty sharp. I like the angled lines on this one. And then we've got a muzzle brake, which looks like it goes in only one way, like that. And it's actually very smooth how that attaches. Since it mates completely to the shell of the blaster, I think that that's really cool. And of course, opens up the opportunity to add a scar. Now, it looks like these buttons are gonna allow you to slide this out. Interestingly enough, while the cheek rest is modular and can be slid back and forth, there's a tack rail underneath it. I think the only thing you'd want on there is the cheek rest. And then this is not a standard buffer tube, although this is an in-strike attachment point for the stock. So you can put any in-strike attachment point on, including a buffer to in-strike attachment sort of system if you wanted to use a more standard M4 stock. This has multiple points of articulation here, but a collapsible stock with a much more robust, much sturdier sort of setup there. You've got your standard fire, safety, click, click there. And with that said, we should be ready to fire. So let's see. Stock feels good, actually, and it can hold a lot of weight behind it, which is nice. You don't always get that lucky with stocks, so to speak, but definitely getting, you know, max power. Not a lot of paint on this blaster. In fact, no paint at all. And it all comes down to your plastic quality, right? If you're using cheap plastic and then you use the mold to create your deco, it looks very poor. But if you're using multiple different finishing techniques on the plastic, different mold releases, and so you tend to see this on more premium products like the Dart Zone Pro line, where they'll use a combination of like textured mold release, smooth mold release, rubberized things. You even see it, if we're gonna give a condolence where it's due, on the Flagrant Ultra line, where they would use the electroplating and the different kind of models of plastic to create kind of a fineness to it. You see it in horology world a lot, where you'll have the same steel components, but the difference between like brushed and polished links is just an absolute world of difference in terms of quality and fit and finish. So, while it doesn't have any paint on it, the Tomcat logo is clearly very legible, and the grip is very comfortable on this bad boy. So overall, I think that it's quite handsome. The foregrip is a vertical foregrip, but it's not bad. I would like to hope that when we get time to do the mod guide, we pop this off and we see that, I can tell you, it looks like, looking at the sled down in here, that they're doing the usual thing that they do, where there's kind of a faux tinny / pick tinny underneath the stock grip so that you can put whatever you want on. I'm sure that we'll capture that in some sort of form or fashion. Now, the most important question for a blaster that has, you know, 50 rounds of capacity is, of course, can it slam fire? Yeah! It's not a Tommy gun if you can't Scarface it, right? So as we rotate through, you can see that the darts that have been fired are dropping down from the chamber before them. So we will be able to fire off 50 rounds, I imagine, with no muss, no fuss, no problems. But that's kind of my overall take on it. I think that it's, you know, fairly priced, massive onboard capacity. You'd probably want, if this was your primary, an emergency drum for if you get tired of topping it off. But again, I do want to point out that as we kind of go through the, what the heck? My patch wall just fall off? I'm telling you guys, it's crazy over here before End War. You could come in and you could very easily top off your darts through the outer ring of the drum like so, and just keep going. So maybe the second drum isn't as necessary for something like an HVZ setup, but this might need a downgrade in power just to get to HVZ levels. We won't know that, of course, until we take it outside and put it over the chronograph. Let's go. All right, guys, so admittedly, I took a couple of practice shots downrange with this guy, and I did that for the gram, but it's pretty sweet. So let's put a few over the chrony. 175, 169, 173, 71, 76. Pretty intense. Let's do a few slam fire shots. And it looks like the slam fire shots are about 5 FPS lower on average. The fact that I haven't had to reload this thing yet, absolutely insane. Just a really solid primary class blaster. And again, this is grown on me. I might replace it with a Scar over on FPS, but you never know. So we've still got a target downrange from a recent gel ball review. Let's see how long it takes us to dial in to that. 3 shots, not bad. I think it really depends on whether or not I'm rushing. Let's slam fire some downrange and see how many get on target. So slam fire a little less accurate than really, you know, winding up. Did I do it? Did I exhaust them all? No, I've got 3 over here. And I guess I need to, oh, of course, when it's, so how do I rotate through the cylinder if I, ah-ha-ha. Excellent, excellent. Nice. I mean, that's the Tomcat. What else do you say about it? Now, the leaked price on the Tomcat is $70, which I think is fair given how feature-rich it is, and it's our first blaster with a true, you know, not a spring drum, but like a real high onboard capacity drum system. I mean, I think that it's incredibly feature rich. I think that it's got a lot of premium features in it. I think that it's a very sharp blaster. I'm penchant to the red and the gray. A lot of things about it. I don't want to start sounding like a Dart Zone stan necessarily, but I mean, it's tough to beat. It's a full class primary, getting 170 FPS, dialed in pretty accurately without the use of a SCAR. I think that it clearly has the room to improve beyond that, and the accessories that it comes with are quite nice. The grip is good, the trigger pull is clean. It's hard to complain too terribly much about it. I think that it's really a solid offering from Dart Zone. And frankly, it seems like they just haven't missed. I don't know what it's gonna take, but they haven't released anything that I'm like, oh man, this kind of stinks. So you don't wanna start sounding like a fanboy, but you know, when they've earned it, it's like every blaster that's been in the primary category has been really good. This one's priced to be just under kind of pro level performance, pro level fit and finish. And true to form, it does not have all of the rubberized finishes and some of that polish, but it looks like it's about as close as you could get to a pro blaster without getting an actual pro blaster, and the price and the, you know, availability on shelves at Target kind of reflects that notion, right? So in much the same way that I really like the Striker, and I actually prefer the Striker to the Nexus Pro, I think that the varieties that wind up on Target shelves are just really sharp. It looks like I got one shot left. Can I end it on a high note? Let's see. How do you beat that? So that's the Dart Zone Max Tomcat showing up at Target. It's of course a Target.com or a Target exclusive looking like this. And I mean, it gets a full thumbs up. I think that this one's worth picking up at retail. And obviously if it goes on sale, it's a steal. So thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to meeting you all, seeing you all at End War. And then for those of you that I'm not gonna be able to see at End War, I'll catch you guys at Foam Fest. Much love, Blast on Drac out.